Hello friends, this is Bhupendra here, and today we are going to solve one very interesting problem, which is number of islands, and this is a medium problem. This is asked many times in Amazon interview. If I come here and show you, you could see in last 0 to 6 months this question has been asked around more than 100 plus times in Amazon. So this is very important question. So let me go through the question first. So question is lead code 200, number of islands. Given an m cross n 2D binary grid, so for example in this case we have 4 rows and 5 columns, so m is 4, n is 5, which represents a map of ones and zeros. So 1 is for land and 0 is for water. An island is surrounded by water and is formed by connecting adjacent lands horizontally or vertically. So what it is saying, all the connected ones which are connected horizontally or vertically, that forms one island. So in this example, this top row, these two and these two, they are part of one island, because if you see, these are connected vertically and these are connected horizontally. So this is one. And let's take another example. In this case, one set of island is here, so these are 4 ones which are connected horizontally and vertically, so this makes one island. This is one which is not connected horizontally or vertically with any other land, so this is second island. And third island is this one, which has 2 ones. So in these type of questions, the first thing should come to your mind that these kind of questions are basically solved by 3 algorithms. One is depth first search or DFS, second one is breadth first search or BFS, and third one is union find or disjoint set data structure. So I am going to solve by DFS today, and if you want you can try solving it by BFS also. I have created videos for DFS and VFS both. If you want to revise what are those, you can go through my videos. So first we will declare a variable which will basically contain number of islands value which we have to return, and we'll initialize it by 0. After that we have to go through each row and each column, so basically at each place, and check if that value is 1, then only we know that that may contain an island. So let's write one for loop, and we want to loop through all the rows. Which is basically grid of length. One thing I would suggest while writing the program, you have to use variable name in such a way that they convey some value. So in our case, because we are first looping through rows, so we will just use the variable name rows. Inside it we will loop through all the columns in one row, so from 0 to grid 0 dot length, and I'll tell you what does this mean. So this complete is one row, so whenever I write grid of 0, it means I am accessing this complete row. And when I say dot length, it means this is an array, so its length will be written 1 2 3 4 5. So this way we'll get the number of columns in a row. In our case, it doesn't matter whether I use grid 0 1 2 or 3 or anything, because the number of columns in all the rows are same. So this you have to remember, that to find number of columns in a row, you need to take first row or any row and just get the length of this row. Once we are inside this loop, it means we are going like this. So first we'll be at row 0 column 0, then row 0 column 1, then row 0 column 2. So once we are done with all rows, then we will go to next row, and again we'll loop through all the columns in that row. And we are particularly interested only on the grid values which has 1 on it. So we'll check grid row column equals 1. So why I am using single quotation here to check the values, because if you see the definition of this grid, it's char array of grid. So, and in Java, char can be represented inside a single quote. So we need to make sure that single quote is there. In case you don't do that, you will get some unexpected result. So now what we do, so once we are at a place where the value is 1, at that time we want to do a DFS algorithm. So I will say it as DFS grid, and we can pass the complete grid because we need to have this information in order to navigate through it. And then I will pass the row and column. And before that, what we can do, as soon as we receive any one, we know that this will definitely contain one island, so we can increase the value of number of island y1, which we can do like this, and then we'll write this function. At the end, when everything is done, we will return number of islands. Okay, so now I will create a private method. Okay, before writing any code, let me tell you what we are doing here. So in our example, as soon as we receive 1 here, we will increase the number of islands by 1. So we have 1 in this result variable. Then we'll do a DFS. And when we came to this DFS, in this function, we have this complete grid as well as row number and column number, which in this case will be 0 and 0. Now what we want to do, we want to do a DFS, depth first search. And what does that mean? It means we'll take one neighbor of this and then we'll keep on continuing until we find any 0 or we go beyond boundary. Okay, so what we are going to do, when we are traversing using DFS, at the same time we will convert them to 0 so that we don't do the DFS again at that point. So to understand this, suppose there is a scenario where all values in grid are 1. So in that case, we know there is only one island. So our loop will come here. We will increase the value of island as 1. And when we will do DFS from this position on this grid, we will convert everything to 0. So this grid will become 0 and control will come back to this function. Then again it will go to this for loop and it will again go through each element, but now all elements are 0. So that is the reason it will not go inside this loop and we will not increase this variable and no DFS will be done. So in this way we will make sure that we are not taking in consideration those one which are already being used for knowing an island. Okay, let me come back here. So in DFS problem, what we normally do, first we check if we are within the boundary of a grid. How do we know we are within the boundary? There are two ways. First, you can check either row is greater than equal to 0 and row is less than equal to the total length of the grid, and column is again greater than equal to 0 and column is less than equal to the length of the grid. And another way what you can do, you can simply check OR condition. If row is less than 0, it means that you don't need to check any other condition. You can simply return from there. So let's write OR condition. If row is less than 0 or row is greater than equals grid dot length or column is less than 0 or column greater than equals grid 0 dot length. So we know in this case we are outside the boundary of grid and we know we need to return, and one condition more we have to write because we don't want to do anything when we encounter a 0. So we simply want to return. So we'll check one more condition. If grid row column equals 0. So in all these conditions we simply want to return from this function. In all other condition, what we want to do, we first want to change the grid value so that we don't do the DFS again. So grid of row column equals 0, and then call the same function for all the 4 neighbors. So for example, if I am here, what are its 4 neighbors? So for this, if we are doing a DFS for this value, so this will be at the same row and column minus 1. This will be at the same row and column plus 1. This top will be same column and row minus 1. This down will be at the same column and row plus 1. So that's where we need to do 4 times this function call for all 4 neighbors. So we'll pass the grid, and as we discussed, for this one, this has the same row and column is 1 less. So same row but column minus 1. Now this value in respect to this one will be same row and column plus 1. So I will just simply change it column plus 1. And the top value will be row minus 1 and same column. And the down value will be row plus 1 and same column. You have to remember, when we are traversing this grid, this is row 0, this is row 1, this is row 2, this is row 3. So row value increases when we go down and row value decreases when we go up. At the same time, column value decreases when we go left. So that's it. I think this should work. Just simply run it. I have typo here. I meant row. So let's do it row. Okay, it's accepted. Let's submit this one. Okay, this is submitted. Now let's discuss its time complexity and space complexity. We have this for loop here. There are two for loops, and one for loop goes from row 0 to all the rows, another for loop from column 0 to all the columns. So it means the runtime will be, in this case, rows are m and column is n, so runtime will be order of m cross n. And when we come to this function, even though we are calling this function 4 times, but if you see, we are making sure we are making the current visited value as 0, so next time we will not go through that. So it means in a scenario where there are all ones, the loop will come here at the very first time, but this will do everything as 0, so next time this for loop will not run. So the runtime complexity will always be order of m cross n. When it comes to space, if you see here, we are only using one integer variable, so this is order of 1. Here also we have row and column, those are also order of 1. If you see here, we are doing some same function calls, which is basically recursion, and recursion also takes space, which we need to consider. And if you think max to max, how much deep it can go, if there are all ones, it can go at the order of m cross n. So this will be space-time complexity, that is order of m cross n. So that's it, my dear friends. So what I would suggest to you, just for practice, write this program again using BFS, and if possible using disjoint sets or union find data structure. This will help you understanding both the algorithms. And if you face any problem, you can watch my videos on VFS and DFS. That should help you. That's it for now. Thanks for watching this. Please like and subscribe if you like this video. Bye bye.